Today's Thursday, February 5, 2026, and honestly, if you're feeling a little whiplash from the news cycle this week, you are definitely not alone.
Not at all.
We are looking at a stack of stories today that just feels like this massive collision of, hope and failure and the law.
It's a messy one today. Usually we look at technology as this sort of linear arrow moving forward, right? Faster, smarter, better.
Right.
But the material we're unpacking today, specifically from TechWorld Bangladesh, it shows us that arrow is, well, it's hitting a wall.
Or maybe it's hitting a mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the job market desperately trying to lean on AI. We've got the AI itself just collapsing under the pressure.
And then you have governments in Europe and Asia stepping in and saying, okay, enough, we're changing the rules here.
That is the mission for this deep dive then. We have to connect the dots between that individual struggle, just trying to get hired in a tough economy, and this massive geopolitical struggle of nations trying to control big tech.
It all connects.
And the irony is just, it's so thick today. The hook for me is that we are trusting algorithms to define our careers at the exact moment the algorithms are proving they can't even keep the lights on.
It's the paradox of 2026. Maximum dependency meets maximum instability.
Maximum instability, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So let's start with the thing that is probably keeping most people up at night, the economy. The reporting paints a pretty stark picture of the job market.
It's grim. It really is. We're seeing a continuation of that wave of layoffs we heard about late last year. The opportunities are limited.
Yeah.
But what's interesting in the text is how competitive it is. You have highly qualified people, people who on paper should be snapped up instantly, and they are struggling to even get an interview.
Which brings us to the tool everyone is turning to, ChatGPT. The reports highlight some new features specifically rolling out to help with this. And we're not just talking write me a cover letter anymore.
No, this is much more granular. The new features are for deep CV preparation and interview simulation. It's analyzing the gap between your resume and the job description and telling you exactly how to fix it.
But here's what I wonder. If I'm using these tools to polish my CV to perfection, and you're using them, and everyone listening is using them, doesn't that just raise the baseline?
That is the hidden inflation of the job market. It's an arms race. If everyone has a perfect resume written by AI, then perfect just becomes the new average.
Right.
It actually makes it harder to stand out because the signal-to-noise ratio gets all messed up. Recruiters are getting thousands of applications that all sound proficient, professional, and a little bit robotic.
So you have to be even more creative to beat the bot that is beating the other bots.
Precisely. You're trying to out-human the machine.
But, and this is the twist that makes this week so frustrating. Imagine you are that candidate. You have a deadline. You have an interview tomorrow morning. You sit down to do your prep. You log into your career coach.
Yeah.
And the screen is blank.
The great outage of February 26.
And this wasn't just a hiccup. The reporting says this disruption lasted for 2 consecutive days.
48 hours. In the digital economy, that is an eternity.
It is.
If you're a business relying on this API, or a student, or a job seeker, 2 days is enough to miss the window. The report mentions thousands of users were just locked out.
And OpenAI is investigating, of course, is scrambling. But let's talk about what that feeling represents. We have effectively outsourced our cognitive labor, our ability to prep for a job, to some server farm that we don't control.
That's the vulnerability. We treat these platforms like electricity or water. We just assume they'll always be there when we turn the tap.
But they aren't utilities.
No, they are private products, subject to technical debt, bugs, crashes.
It feels like building your house on a rented lot. You can build the most beautiful career strategy in the world, but if the landlord locks the gate for 2 days, you're sleeping outside.
And this outage really forces us to ask, what is plan B? If the AI is down, do you still know how to write a compelling CV? Do you still know how to prep for an interview just using your own brain?
I think for a lot of people, the answer is getting uncomfortably close to no. We're losing the muscle because we're using the crutch.
And that crutch just snapped in half for 48 hours.
So while the engineers are running around with fire extinguishers trying to fix the servers, the politicians are busy doing something else entirely. We have to pivot to the legal side of this because while the tech is failing, the regulations are getting incredibly aggressive.
Aggressive is the right word.
Yeah.
We are seeing a shift from sort of monitoring big tech to actually policing it.
Let's start in Spain. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez made an announcement that I think, well, it shocked a lot of people.
This is huge. Spain has announced a ban on social media usage for anyone under 16 years old.
16.
Yeah.
That is a significant jump. I mean, usually when we talk about digital age limits, we hear 13. That's the standard, right?
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So why 16? And why a total ban? The reasoning cited here is specifically digital safety. By pushing the age to 16, Spain is basically saying that they believe the developmental risks, mental health, body image, addiction, you name it, are too high for anyone younger.
So they're categorizing it alongside other regulated things.
Exactly, like driving or gambling or buying alcohol.
But how does that actually work in practice? I mean, I remember being 15. If you told me I couldn't do something, I'd find a way to do it. How do you enforce a ban like this without creating a massive surveillance state?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? To enforce a hard ban, you need verification. You can't just have a box you check that says, yes, I'm 16.
Yeah, proof.
You need proof. That means government ID, facial scanning, maybe biometric data.
Which creates a paradox.
Okay.
So to protect kids' privacy and safety, you have to force them or their parents to hand over sensitive identity documents to the very platforms you don't trust.
Exactly. It's the verification trap. But the fact that Spain is willing to risk that kind of friction shows you how serious they think the situation has become. They are looking at the data on youth mental health and deciding that the open internet approach has failed.
It's a move from parental responsibility to state responsibility.
It is. The government is saying, parents, you can't handle this alone, so we're stepping in.
And that has to send a ripple effect through the whole EU. If Spain holds the line on 16, other countries might just follow.
It could fundamentally change the business model of these companies if they lose access to the demographic that drives the most trends.
And speaking of business models, we have to look at India. Because while Spain is trying to protect the minds of its citizens, India is going to war to protect their data.
This story is arguably even bigger in terms of global economics. This is a showdown in the Supreme Court of India, and it involves WhatsApp and its parent company, Meta.
And the Supreme Court didn't just ask nicely. It sounds like they issued a warning.
Ooh, a very stern warning. The court explicitly stated that the data of Indian citizens must not be traded or exploited for commercial use.
Must not be traded. That sounds like they're treating data less like a byproduct of using an app and more like, what, a natural resource.
That's a great analogy. Think of it like oil. For the last decade, big tech has been drilling into user bases, extracting this data or oil, and shipping it off to be refined into ad revenue.
And India is saying, wait a minute, that oil belongs to us.
Or at the very least, you can't just take it and sell it without our permission. The Supreme Court is asserting data sovereignty. They're saying the digital footprint of an Indian citizen falls under Indian jurisdiction, not the terms of service of a company in California.
Wow. This feels like a direct challenge to the whole free model of the internet. We've always accepted that the price of free apps is our data. If India says you can't use that data commercially, how does WhatsApp even make money there?
They might not, or they have to completely change the model. And that's why this is so disruptive. If India, which is the largest market by user count for a lot of these apps, changes the rules, Meta has to change its entire architecture.
It all connects back to Spain, doesn't it? Both countries are essentially putting up fences.
They are. Spain is putting up a fence to keep vulnerable people out of certain digital spaces. India is putting up a fence to keep valuable data in.
It really feels like the era of the borderless internet is dying. We're moving into this splinternet world where your online experience is entirely dictated by the passport you hold.
And by the willingness of your government to fight these massive corporations. It's a power struggle. Who owns the digital space? The tech giants who built it, or the nations where the users actually live?
And speaking of those servers, we have to remember they crashed for 2 days this week. So these governments are fighting for control over systems that are proving to be surprisingly fragile.
It creates a crisis of confidence. I mean, why should a government trust a tech giant to self-regulate when that giant can't even guarantee 99% uptime?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to step back for a second. We've talked about the stress of the job hunt, the frustration of the outage, the crackdown in Spain, the legal battle in India. It's all very heavy. It's all very, system versus human.
It is a lot of conflict.
But there was one story in the stack that felt different. It wasn't about a lawsuit or a server crash. It was about a photography competition organized by Oppo.
The nationwide smartphone photography contest.
Right. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. A marketing stunt.
Really?
But if you dig into the language they used in the report, it didn't talk about specs. It didn't talk about megapixels or
That's
zoom.
true. I caught that too. It got philosophical.
It described photography as memories made of light. It talked about the transformation of emotion and how an image lets a moment survive through time.
Memories made of light. It's poetic, but it's also, technically accurate.
It just struck me because amidst all this talk of data privacy and algorithmic optimization, we forget why we carry these things in our pockets. We don't carry them just to apply for jobs or to be tracked. We carry them to capture our lives.
It's the human element. The hardware, the lens, the sensor, that's just a tool. But the intent is human. When you take a photo of your kid or a sunset, you aren't thinking about data sovereignty. You're thinking about preservation.
And that survives the outage. That's the thing. If ChatGPT goes down, I can't write my resume. But if the cloud goes down, I can still take a picture. The Creative Act doesn't require the server farm.
Well, mostly, as long as the photo lives on your device. But I see your point. It's a reminder that we are the ones who give meaning to the technology. The tech itself is cold. The outage proved that. The legal battles prove it's just a commodity. But the use of it, capturing an emotion, that's where the value actually lies.
It's interesting to think about that in the context of the Spain ban. Those 15-year-olds who are banned from social media, they'll still have phones, they'll still take photos. They just won't be broadcasting them to the world.
And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe returning to memories made of light instead of content made for clicks is exactly the reset we need.
That is a fascinating way to look at it, shifting from content back to memory.
Because when everything is content, everything is commercial. And that's what India is fighting, the commercialization of personal life. When something is a memory, it's personal. It belongs to you.
So we have this whole spectrum. On one end, the cold, hard utility of AI for jobs, which fails us when it breaks. In the middle, the government stepping in to say, stop selling our people. And on the other end, the simple, quiet act of taking a picture.
It really highlights the tension of our time. We are trying to figure out how to be human in a machine world.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out and look at February 5, 2026 as a snapshot in history, what are we looking at?
I think we are looking at the end of the Wild West era of technology.
How so?
Look at the pattern. The job market is forcing us to optimize ourselves like machines. But the machines are breaking, showing us we can't fully rely on them. So the governments are stepping in to build walls. Spain builds a wall around age. India builds a wall around data.
We're moving from an open field to a fenced-in city.
Exactly. And that leads to a provocative thought I've been mulling over while reading these reports.
Lay it on me.
If governments are now comfortable deciding who can use technology, like the under 16 ban, and how companies can use our data, like the Supreme Court ruling, are we witnessing a fundamental shift in rights?
You mean digital rights?
Are we moving toward a future where digital access is no longer a right or even a given, but a privilege granted by the state?
A privilege granted by the state.
Think about it. If the state can say, you're too young to be here, or this data cannot leave our borders, they are asserting that they hold the keys to the digital kingdom, not the tech companies.
And a privilege can be revoked.
Exactly. If access is based on safety and compliance, then what happens when you aren't compliant?
It is slightly terrifying.
It is, but it's also the logical conclusion of demanding more safety. If you want the government to protect you from big tech, you have to give the government the power to control big tech, and that power cuts both ways.
So we trade the tyranny of the algorithm for the authority of the state.
That might be the trade-off of 2026.
Well, on that cheerful note,
Yeah.
Seriously though, it is something to think about. As you navigate these outages and these bans, ask yourself, who is actually holding the keys to your digital life? Is it you? Is it OpenAI? Or is it the parliament?
And while you figure that out, maybe take a few photos, just for yourself.
Memories made of light. I like that. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we will catch you in the next one.